Hello guys, it's me Aiden here, and I am going to announce the winners of this contest. Now there were so many great entries, it was hard for me to pick, but only one took the cake, and that was the Cranky Crane 02. Congratulations, you will get a shout out on a different video other than an episode. So it will be a future video, you will get a shout out, or a special video for you. Anyways, after that, after we show his entry, we'll show the rest of the entries. And I'm only going to show 140. So I'm just going to show 1 minute of an entry, so this video doesn't get too long. But some entries were like 138 or something like that. So I'll just let those go, but ones that are like 4 minutes or something, they're going to be shortened down to 1 minute. Alright, here are the entries.
If you give a tank engine a tender. It was a beautiful day on the island of Sodor, but wait, the tank engines already have tenders. It's not if they got a tender, it's they already have tenders. So anyways, it was a beautiful day on the island of Sodor. The engines were talking at the sheds. "Something feels different," said Gordon. "I feel as if something's missing off me." "Same," said Henry. Then Gordon's driver arrived. And then his firemen came, too. "We'll get you ready for work now, Gordon," they said. And they went to go work on him. Gordon then started to move forwards. But he stopped. "Why am I stopped?" "Your tender's gone," they said. "What? How could this be?"
How a tank engine a tender, he'll want to show it off. If he shows it off, Gordon will get jealous. If Gordon gets jealous, he'll try and steal the tender. If Gordon tries to steal the tender, the two engines will fight. If the two engines fight, then Gordon will win. If Gordon wins, he will take the tender all for himself. If Gordon takes the tender, Thomas will want revenge. If Thomas wants revenge, he will steal everything from Gordon's shed. If he steals everything from Gordon's shed, Gordon will find out. And if Gordon finds out, he'll shove Thomas into his shed. And then Tidman's sheds will start to rattle. If it starts rattling, it will fall over. And it will all be Percy's fault.
If you give a tank engine a tender, he'll test it out on the tracks. If he tests it out on the tracks, it'll make him go very fast. If he goes very fast, he'll crash into something. If he crashes into something, he'll get stuck. And if he gets stuck, another engine will crash into him. And it will send him flying into the air. If the engine goes flying through the air, it'll randomly end up in another universe. If it ends up in another universe, he'll fall from the sky and crash land. If he crash lands, it'll be on the tracks. If he crash lands on the tracks, he will get hit by another engine and come off the tracks. If he gets hit by another engine, he will be so broken and bashed that he will have to be scrapped. So never give a tank engine a tender.
If you give a tank engine a tender. If you give a tank engine a tender, he'll be really happy. If he's really happy, he'll want to go really fast, like a real tender engine. If he goes really fast like a real tender engine, he'll crash into Diesel 10. If he crashes into Diesel 10, Diesel 10 will get mad. If Diesel 10 gets mad, he'll chase Thomas. If Diesel 10 chases Thomas, he'll make a squeaky sound and get embarrassed. If Diesel 10 gets embarrassed, he'll go away. If Diesel 10 goes away, Thomas will be happy. But then something will go wrong. The tender engine will worry and find out where his tender is. If he finds out where his tender is, he will go chase after the engine that took it. If he chases the engine that took it, they will derail. If they derail, another engine will derail too. If another engine derails, all of the engines will be sad. But if Thomas derails, he won't be able to make any videos, so someone will have to cover for him. If someone has to cover for him, he might get no subs. If someone covers for him and he doesn't get any subs, he'll be really mad, and the other engine will think it's funny. Thomas will be mad when he finds this out, and try to derail him and get very mad and kill him. And that, my friends, is what happens if you give a tank engine a tender. Special thanks to Aiden and friends for this amazing contest. Go subscribe to him. I will leave his link in the description below. He is an amazing friend of mine, so yeah.
If you give a tank engine a tender, he'll want to show it off. If he wants to show it off, he'll find an engine resting. If he finds an engine resting, he will ditch the old tender and takes the new ones. If he ditches the old tender and takes the new one, the engine he took the tenders from will find out. If the engine he took the tenders from finds out, there will be a big chase sequence. If there is a big chase sequence, there will be a crash. If there is a big crash, the engine who had the tenders taken from him will arrive. If the engine who had the tenders taken from him arrives, he will take them back to the siding. If he takes the tenders back to the siding...
A little tank engine didn't want to be a tank engine anymore. He wanted to be a tender engine instead. So one day, he sneakily stole a tender. And this is where the real story begins. If you give a tank engine a tender, all the other tank engines will want a tender. If all the other engines want a tender, they're all gonna get a tender. If the other engines get a tender, there will be no more coal to use the tenders. If there are no more coal, then the Fat Controller is gonna have to get a new kind of locomotive. If the Topham Hatt gets a new locomotive, which is more efficient and better than the steam engines, then the steam engines will hate that locomotive. Get out!
If you give a tank engine, he will pretend he was Gordon. As Gordon, he will run away. If he runs away, you will be. If you are lonely, you will just sadly leave and sit next to the points. If you sit by the points, Henry will steal your tender and puff away. If Henry steals your tender, he's gonna act like Flying Scott. He acts like Flying Scotsman, he'll shove you right out the way. He shoves you right out the way, you'll crash into some trucks. If you crash into some trucks, you'll knock down Cranky. Oh! If Cranky crashes on you, Henry, the engine will run away. If the engine runs away, he will crash. If the engine crashes, he will be stuck. If he is stuck, another train will come. If another train will come, it will smack the tender out of the way. If the tender's knocked out of the way, it will fly through the air. If it flies through the air, it will unrealistically land back on the track. If it's put back on the track, then you'll be put back on the track. You're put back on the track, you will get the tender and run away. If you run away, you'll hide the tender. If you find the tender, it will be scrapped. The end.
If you give a tank a tender, he'll want to fly. If he wants to fly, he'll fly to the sun. If he flies to the sun, he'll burn his eyeballs out. If he burns his eyeballs out, he'll just fall to death. If he falls to death, he'll break the tender. If his tender breaks, he'll get everybody else's tender. If he gets everybody else's tender, he'll want to jump off a cliff. If he wants to jump off a cliff, he'll do exactly so. If he jumps off a cliff and do exactly so, all his tenders would break again. If all his tenders would break again, he would cry. If he cried, all the tender engines would find him. If all the tender engines found him, he would be beaten up. If he was beaten up, he would have to be sent for scrap. If he's gonna get scrapped, he'll spend his final moments watching If You Give a Tank a Tender contest entries.
If he spends his last moments watching If You Give a Tank a Tender contest entries, he'll soon be
If you give a
scrapped.
tank engine a tender, you say no. If he says no, he'll keep on following around until he says yes. If he says finally doesn't say yes, he will yell at the top of his lungs.
No, God! No, God, please, no! No!
If he says please no, the engine will sadly go away. If he sadly goes away, he will modify it. If he modifies it, there will be buttons and other stuff on it. If there's buttons and other stuff on it, he will go give it back to the same engine. If he goes back to give it to the same engine, he'll tell him he'll ask him where he got it. If he asks him where he got it, he will say, if he says, internet, the engine will take it because it's from the internet and the internet's smart. Alright guys, those are the winners. And, sorry if you didn't, didn't get a good place. It's just that there was a lot of people in this, contest than I'd expect. So, I had to put you in the place that you deserved. So I'm sorry if you didn't get the place that you were hoping for, but yeah. Thank you so much for entering. There will be more contests, but probably not soon. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe. Bye.